Well, my friends, it brings me no pleasure at all to report to you that Trump is getting away with it. They're eating the cats. You know what I'm talking about. After his sentencing in his 34 felony count conviction in New York, I already told you that his sentencing has been postponed indefinitely. And now special counsel Jack Smith, after indicting Donald Trump on a small mountain of federal charges, has filed motions to drop them, and a judge has agreed to fully dismiss the 2020 election interference case against Donald Trump. Why? Well, because Trump's victory means that Department of Justice tradition, not legal policy, tradition, says we don't prosecute sitting presidents, which Trump will soon be. Yes, the same Trump who claimed that the prosecutions were a political witch hunt is now being shielded by a DOJ policy or convention meant to ensure that presidents can focus on running the country without pesky distractions like multiple felony indictments and trials. This was the first time in American history that a president faced federal charges for clinging to power and obstructing justice. And yet here we are, watching the cases evaporate like a MAGA hat in the wind, like a miracle. Trump's victory, of course, fueled by just under 50% of voters, shrugging off January 6th and 4 years of chaos and putting him back into power. And it has once again proven that irony is alive and well, but so is ignorance. We're going to talk about the ignorance element in a moment. Speaking of weaponized justice system, the Supreme Court's conservative majority didn't just help Trump in this entire legal battle. They practically gift-wrapped immunity with a bow. Their July ruling granted sweeping protections to presidential actions, making sure that pesky accountability wouldn't interrupt, his golf schedule or whatever he's getting up to. And then meanwhile, Judge Eileen Cannon, the Trump-appointed judge overseeing the classified documents case, dismissed that one entirely. Her reasoning was that Jack Smith wasn't properly appointed, which, by the way, is an opinion not widely shared by too many legal experts. So that's where we are today. I wish it were somewhere else, but we have to deal with reality as it is, not as we would wish it to be. And with the cases dismissed and the DOJ policies saying we're just not going to prosecute, we are also expecting Jack Smith to resign before Donald Trump takes office. And his team, the one sort of interesting or depressing thing is that Jack Smith's team now has to file a report explaining why did you choose to ask for the charges to be dropped. And I can only imagine that that's going to be one of the most depressing documents I could read. It's going to be more depressing than a Russian novel. Let me put it that way. Trump's spokesman, of course, bragging, saying that the drop charges are, quote, a victory for the rule of law, which is a real irony considering the allegations are extremely well documented against Trump and they point to Trump being the criminal, not Trump being the victim. It's all completely backwards. And it is true that MAGA world sees this as a vindication. It's not what this should be seen as is an indictment of a completely broken justice system that claims no one is above the law, but Trump's above the law. I mean, there's no other way to say it. But instead they say, no, it is the rule of law that now Trump gets away with everything. So what's next? Trump becomes president, and then we have to see what happens with the cases of the Trump rioters. That will sort of be the next battle line of law and order. Many of the rioters have already said, I regret even believing what Trump said about the election back in 2020. I regret getting involved. I regret all of it. And yet Donald Trump has promised to pardon at least some of the rioters. He's even called them patriots. He's called them the J6 hostages. So we're going to see. We have learned that you are not above the law unless you are president or unless maybe you rioted in favor of a guy who is once again going to be president. And what this will leave us, you might be wondering, is this it? Are these all the cases against Trump? No. We still have the Georgia election interference trial. That's a state case. It's not going to trial anytime soon. And then, as I mentioned, the sentencing for Trump in New York has been postponed indefinitely. Some are saying 2029, at which point Trump would be, 83 and leaving his second term in office. So I'm as frustrated as everybody else about how this played out. I do think it's worth mentioning this really isn't on Jack Smith. Jack Smith was appointed too late by Merrick Garland. That's Merrick Garland's fault. Had Jack Smith been appointed earlier, maybe more could have been done. We had Judge Eileen Cannon, a Trump-appointed judge, interfering further to help Trump. The inevitable role of the Supreme Court in saying that anything that is even remotely arguable as an official act, Trump has immunity for. That wiped out further possibility for accountability. And now Jack Smith, he's now going to have a target on his back no matter what he does or where he goes, because he is one of the big enemies and political adversaries of Trump and MAGA and of Trumpism. So a lot of blame to go around here, no doubt. But I don't know that it is Jack Smith who is to blame. He was sort of working in the environment and with the parameters that were given to him. Merrick Garland, however, you can certainly say the slow walking on the appointment of the special counsel, certainly part of the problem. Experience better sleep with the Pod 4 Ultra by 8 Sleep, one of today's sponsors. The Pod 4 Ultra is a smart mattress cover that fits easily over your existing mattress to regulate temperature throughout the night. You can choose a setting anywhere from 55 to 110 degrees. I like 60. I don't like getting hot when I sleep, and it makes a huge difference. If you share your bed, each side can be independently controlled. You have one temperature, your partner has another. The pod will also monitor your sleep and check out the patterns of sleep to automatically adjust the temperature to optimize rest. Snoring is no problem. The pod can gently elevate your head to reduce snoring when detected, leading to a better night's sleep for you and your partner. You can try the Pod 4 Ultra 30 nights with no risk. If it's not a good fit, send it back. My guess is you'll try it and want to keep it. Right now for Black Friday, 8 Sleep is giving my audience up to $600 off your Pod 4 Ultra purchase when bundled. Go to 8sleep.com/Pacman and use code Pacman. The link is in the description.